Right, good morning. Good morning. I am in the car, in the truck, headed to the paint store because today I am going to do a small paint job. Um, Not something that should sound novel, it's not, but it's actually kind of fun for me. Um, I have many years of field experience. I loved when I was in the field, I loved painting. There were days where I thought to myself, this is something I could do for the rest of my life. Um, there's part of me that wishes that was a reality. And when I look at some of the painters out there that are one man shows and they've kind of dialed into um, a niche, and it's one of high profitability, and they've got their systems and processes in place to where they're able to make a good amount of money just being themselves. Maybe I'm a little envious of it. I I have been out of the field for a good while, and I figured that today would be a good day to talk about the process of transitioning out of the field and into business ownership. Um, Over the course of this day, because I am going to do a job, um, I'll kind of talk about my the day, like how it started, where it began, what I'm working on, the processes, but also kind of encapsulating some of the um, some of the things that I did to transition out of the field, and I'll even talk about those moments where I went back, why I decided to go, do a small job today, and hopefully this serves as a reference point on kind of creating your own map and your own journey to creating a life that you want, and um, and that's what it's all about. There's not a right or wrong way to do business unless it's unethical. As long as you're keeping in the bounds of basic ethics, you get to define this story. You get to design what your life looks like. There are constraints and trade-offs in any way you look at it, and so just remember that this is about you, and it's about what you want your life to look like. So I'm excited to put up another episode of 10,000 Steps. A little bit different. I'm not going to be out uh, getting my full 10,000 today. I will go out. It's very cold today. Hopefully that's just this morning, but I will go out at lunchtime, and hopefully this provides some good insight. I'll be kind of cutting in and out throughout the day. This will be recorded in pieces, and so I'll kind of share timelines and things like that for you. All right, so looking at my morning, how it started, well, first I'll say that I am not, I'm a little bit of a night owl, so I'm not one of those guys that thinks that you need to wake up at 4 a.m. to be successful. So I woke up at a pretty reasonable 7:15. I woke up a little bit before my alarm, and the first thing that I tend to do in the morning while I'm somewhat alert is I just kind of make sure that there aren't any overnight emails that are pressing that need to be answered right away. I like to just kind of get that stuff out of the way. I read the news, yeah, that kind of thing. Get ready. Um, Now I'm getting a little older, so I'm 38. It's not the oldest. I'm not the oldest, but between high school football and you know 10 years of being in the field, um, bending over and masking off baseboards and painting baseboards and stuff like that. I do have some back issues, and so it's really important for me when I'm going to do some physical activity to get in some yoga. And so that was the first thing that I did. I did some yoga, got my back loose. Quite frankly, I wish that I had been doing yoga my entire adult life. I really got into it about I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, and it's really kind of eliminated the need for my routine chiropractic visits and my routine massages that just our expenses that add up, and I don't like the idea of having to rely and be dependent on other people and services. And so yoga has been one that has considerably helped. This morning when I woke up, I was really stiff, and I from my back and my neck, it was really stiff, and 10 minutes of yoga, that was all I did. That's all I really had time for this morning. 10 minutes of yoga was enough to get me feeling loose and ready to go. So then came down to like planning some of the more human aspects of my day. I made a smoothie, packed a little snack. I'll probably do a protein shake for lunch. So high protein smoothie, protein shake for lunch. That's pretty light, but it's also kind of typical for me. I don't tend to have big lunches. I'm the kind of person that forgets to eat during the day. So that'll be light. It'll be mobile, and that's kind of what I like, because I like to get a lot of productivity in. And if I break for lunch or go somewhere, that's gonna add to. There's opportunity cost and there's actual cost, right? Like going out to eat for lunch is expensive on a daily basis. It's typically not that good for you. You typically eat too much, and it takes so much time. You'll be gone for an hour, on a lunch. So I'll just kind of take my lunch with me today. A protein shake, I can easily work through lunch on a protein shake, and I think that my plan is probably to hit the doors in the neighborhood that I'm working on. It's a nice neighborhood, $1 million houses, so and there's no gates. There's no gates on it. So, free reign. It's in the county. There's no rules out there. So I'm gonna definitely take advantage of being in that neighborhood and passing out some business cards. So I grabbed the smoothie, and another thing that I like about the smoothie for breakfast is that again, it's mobile, and so I didn't have to pause and stop and eat breakfast and cook it. I mean, it takes all of 2 minutes to make, and then I can take it with me and I can sip on it through the entire morning, which is gonna really help me to kind of avoid getting too hungry throughout the day. So that's my reasoning there. I'm not so like dogmatic about smoothies. It's not something that I can't say that I, drink a smoothie every day and have for the last 1,000 days. I can't say that I, have done yoga every morning for the last, 1,000 days. I'm not that consistent of a person. I give myself a little more grace, and I also, um, that level of routine is pretty monotonous to me. So I do switch it. I do switch things up. Um, but today this was just felt very practical, and for what I'm doing. So after I got that ready, I got all of my supplies and made sure that I was loading up my truck, and the work order that I create has all of the information for what I need to pick up from the store. Um, it's best, in my opinion, to use the Sherwin-Williams Pro Tools app to order the supplies ahead of time so that they're ready and so that you don't have to wait in the store. So I'm pulling up at excuse me, I'm pulling up at the store. It's about 9 o'clock, so I'm feeling pretty good. I told the customer, I gave her a window between 9 and 9:30. I feel pretty confident about hitting that because the store doesn't look too busy today. All right, so I'm at the house and I've started to work my process. I'm in the middle right now. I'm in the middle of prepping walls, but I'm going to backtrack a little bit and kind of tell you the first things that I did. So the very first thing I did, of course, was knocked on the door, and even before then, I sent the customer a text message letting her know that I was on my way. And when I arrived, one of the things about this job is that there's some cultural respect that has to be due. So shoes inside is a big no-no for the culture, but we have to balance that with the fact that it's not safe to be on a job site without foot protection, and so we have to wear our shoes. So I just asked if she had any booties, and typically when shoes not being on inside is very important, they have the booties. Of course, it's not a bad idea to carry your own. So came in, started loading up. I had my sprint planner with me. That was, it's important to have your planner with you. I think that it's an easy thing to forget, but it does make tracking your day and planning your day so much more effective. And so the very first thing that I did is I walked around and I mapped out the points. And so, from the schedule, or from the estimate rather, I had a bid for how many points each room is going to take, and it took me, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes to go around. Granted, this is a small job. It took me, like I said, about 5 minutes to go around and write out the work tickets and kind of deconstruct the points and put them into specific tasks. Some of the tasks here are, there's not a ton of tasks. Some of them, it's a lot of touch up this job. So, painting entire walls, but not complete rooms, and, doing prep work. The previous painter that had come didn't really do what they needed to do for the caliber of house this is, and so and not to mention that they put in a touch-up color that just didn't touch up. And the thing is that it's so hard to just touch stuff up, even if it's the same color. A lot of times it doesn't touch up right. And so, I always tell people we got to paint from corner to corner. And when you do that, even if the color's off just a little bit, you're going to be able to, it'll look good because the difference in color will just kind of register as a light difference, like the light hitting the wall a little bit differently. So always recommend painting corner to corner for touch-ups rather than going in and just doing, a little dab. Never it's never worked out in my experience when I've done that. So I went through, I got out the work tickets. The work tickets are just these little sticky notes that we have that are pre-printed, and they have the work area, they have the description of the task, they have how many points is assigned to it. If you're listening to this and you aren't familiar with the point system, or you're not using our point system, you could put hours on there or minutes. I've moved away from hour-based, time-based production rates on this side of like telling people how long it should take, mostly because painter speeds and abilities are not all, they're just not inherently equal. And so what the points allow you to do is they allow you to give the painter a more custom production rate that's tailored to them, and then they take the number of points that they have to do. They do the math to figure out how many points they're able to do per hour, and then you have an idea of how much time it should take that individual. Through experience, and research, quite frankly, I've just come to realize that everybody has different painters that have different speeds, and for owner operators, their production speed is just going to be faster than any employee that they could hire. And so if you create production rates based on your time, when you bring in an employee, it's just not, your production rates just won't be accurate. So point system really helps in kind of every aspect of the workflow, from bidding the job to planning the job to holding people accountable to helping people understand, what their productivity levels are and could be or should be. The point system is just really, it's a really remarkable way of tracking productivity and organizing productivity. So, that was the first thing I did is I mapped out the points. And so I took the sticky notes, I put the sticky notes in each of the rooms that I'll be painting, just stuck them right up on the wall. And, there I have a clear plan of like how many points I need to produce. I think in total, I need to produce 20 points today. And so, I guess we'll see what my productivity level is at the end of the day. See if I can do it or not. That is close to 3 points per hour, and I do need to get this job done today. So we're going to be hauling. Now the thing to note too is that on the work order, I have listed the prep level, and the prep level is according to the PCA standards, it's a level 1 through 5. At our company, in this local area, we tend to only do level 1 through 4. I think industry-wide, there's a little bit of a misunderstanding about how the levels of prep work. I hear frequently people talking about level 5. Oh, this one's a level 5, which I think is kind of their way of saying that you have to do a good job on it, which is, relative. Like that's somewhat true, right? Like you have to do a good job the higher level you go. But what level 5 really entails is restoration work. And so this is basically restoring the surface to like a new finish, which honestly might not be part of the job. It might not be a requisite to make it completely like new. And in fact, a level 4 is a really nice surface. It's really high quality work. Even the level 4 is. And so my opinion is that most people, when they say level 5, they're probably talking about level 4. But you can utilize the levels to your advantage. A star bit, really? 2 star bit, 3, oh no. Okay. Isn't it fun when you find stuff that you just don't expect? So the level, the level 4 is actually a pretty high level finish. When you get down to the nuances of each one. And so we basically give our customers a choice, and we price. We do pricing based off of the level of finish, and so we will offer a level 1. I don't ever recommend a level 1 unless it's new drywall. But level 2 is a basic prep, just kind of taking care of obvious things. Level 3 is it's a little bit more thorough, and then level 4 is really trying to get it to a like new surface. So on this job, it's a level 3, so I am being more thorough, and part of that is because of the quality of the home, and then there's also aspects of the previous repair that, whatever handyman kind of came in and did this, he just, didn't take that much time to do it right. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of sanding. I'll spare your ears during that portion. And I'm gonna have to figure out a solution for getting the star bit out, because I did not bring my my bits with me. But overall, this should be a pretty good, pretty simple, straightforward job. Like I said, my first step was to go through and map out the points, and I'm using my planner to kind of to a little bit more retroactively track what's happening. I've noticed that when I use my planner to like plan, that I'm just scribbling out things, and I'm not really following the plan. So I really am using the work tickets to plan, and I'm using the planner to track the productivity. So I do a task, I write it down, I mark how much time it took me, and that gives me a good idea of what my production rate is. And if I'm being careful about what my production rate is in real time, then I can make plans for where I need to speed up. Do I have more time? That kind of thing. So I want to track my productivity in real time throughout the day to make sure that I'm on track. So mapped them out, protected the floors. I like protecting the floors after I map the points out because, for one, then it's done, right? Like it's out of the way. You can just get to work. The other aspect of it is that it's more comforting for the homeowner to see that all of their stuff is protected before you begin working. So after I did that, then I started doing prep work. Now, sequencing these jobs is all about identifying where the bottlenecks are going to be. And a bottleneck, if you think of like an hourglass, you've got all of these points that are in the top of the hourglass, and they're trickling through the narrow neck. And there are certain things that, in terms of like process order, you have to be able to do sequentially so that you can actually, progress to the next step. And so anything that requires dry time is a bottleneck. So caulking, um, spackling, paint, all of those three things, they are bottlenecks. And so I want to make sure that I'm doing those things in an order so that when so that when they're drying and when they've reached their bottleneck point, I actually have activity to do after that. So, in this case, there's a lot of little dings and things like that that need to be taken care of, and they need to happen in multiple rooms. And so I'm taking care of all of that in multiple rooms first, and I'm focusing on the room that I'll be painting first. That one gets done first, and then the other rooms. That gives the time to dry, and then I'll come through and do a second pass. I have spackle with a blue dye on it, so I can very clearly see when the spackle is dry and when it's ready for a second pass. Again, this is level 3, so we want to do 2 passes, thin to win, rather than having so much sanding. After that, I'll take off the face plates and then probably do the high cut, because again, we're talking about bottleneck. And so if the walls are not quite dry yet, then they're not dry enough to sand. And I always pull sand. And so if they're not quite dry enough to pull sand, then I'll go ahead and move forward with the high cut, because it up there it doesn't really require the pull sand. But if they're dry, then I'll just go ahead and pull sand and then begin painting. So that's my process, and it's going to get a little bit noisy here with some of the sanding, so I'm going to spare your ears, and then I'll catch you up on the step after that. All right, take 2 on this. I've been talking for the last 11 minutes, realized my microphone wasn't on, so I got to back up. Take it. So I'm wrapped up for lunch, and I am on a walk now around the neighborhood, putting my business card in the weather stripping of the doors. For the sake of time and for the sake of this recording, I'm not knocking today. It would be a nice time to knock. There are people out here. I may run into some people, and then you'll also hear whenever I see a Ring or a Google Nest doorbell. Those take recordings, and so I'm in the process of when I see those, I'll just kind of stop and give an introduction on the recording, to just talk about who I am and why the heck I'm here. So so there have been a few things that have been crossing my mind as I've been producing and working on this small project. The morning was filled with prepping for the job site, prepping for the painting going on. There are about 4 different areas, and I've found myself being very conscientious of wasted seconds. Instances where I climb up a ladder and I get all the way up to the top of the ladder and realize, oh, there's a star bit here, and I've only got Phillips heads. And getting up there and realizing, oh, this is a bigger repair. There's a lot of that kind of going on, and I'm working really hard to mitigate it and avoid those inefficiencies as much as possible. I think part of my saving grace here has been my little tool belt, where I can just kind of load the stuff that I need and have it in my hand. It's really good. I'm averaging a little over 2 points per hour, which is shy of the 3 that I think I need. I do think I'll be able to gain some efficiencies in the painting. This is a very straightforward painting project, and the amount of prep for a level 3 home was a little high. So yeah, I've done about 5 points in 2 hours. So maybe that's not so bad. And we'll just kind of keep pushing. The other thing that has been, here we got another ring. Hey there, my name is Torlando Hakes. I'm just a local business owner, painter. I'm leaving a business card on your door. Hope you don't mind. We do interior and cabinet painting. I'm painting at a house just down the road. Have a great day. So so anyways, landed at about 12:07. Got the prep finished in all the areas. In this instance, I had there's 4 different areas, and I took all the prep tickets and put them together and did them all at once. Just because that's going to be the most efficient way to do that. And as I think about the bottleneck inefficiencies, as well as you have these kind of what would I call them? Kind of they're like statistical anomalies, or just instances where you would have something that unexpected happen that would cause a delay. A statistical fluctuation is the actual term. So the statistical fluctuations are the thing that's kind of most pervasive, I think. That's, like I said, getting up to the top of the ladder and realizing you need a star bit, and okay, I didn't bring my bits, so I guess I got to awkwardly ask the homeowner if they have a drill set, that kind of stuff. There's instances where dry time is the bottleneck. So while I've got everything, I've got 2 passes of patch on everything, there were 2 larger repairs, particularly where those star bits were, that had more damage, and the first pass isn't dry yet. And so I'm hoping that by taking this little break for lunch, that'll give it enough time to dry, and then I can put a second pass on there, which shouldn't take as much time to dry. So you have to, the thing about the statistical fluctuations is that those are going to happen. We want to try to reduce them as much as possible by planning and prepping ahead. Making sure that your worksite environment is prepped in a way that you have all the tools you need centrally located, so that you're not having to go upstairs and downstairs too much, and that you're able to just do the work. The other thing that I think is lending to it, I could have attacked this job one room at a time, but I would have ran into way too many bottlenecks if I had done it that way. And so instead of letting those bottlenecks get in the way, I said, okay, let's just do all the prep right now, and we'll start with the prep in the first room that I'm painting to make sure that the dry time is happening while the other stuff is happening, and then we'll move to the other rooms, and then by the time everything is prepped, that first room is going to be ready to paint. As much as possible, when I think about the dry time bottlenecks, I'm trying to plan in such a way that if we're going to hit a dry time bottleneck and get production halted, that is either happening at lunchtime so that it's drying out, during lunch, or it's happening at the end of the day so that it dries overnight. I don't want to immediately put myself in a place where, okay, I have this immediate bottleneck of dry time and I can't do anything, and it's 10 o'clock or it's 2 o'clock, because that's gonna mess you up. Naturally, you're gonna want to find different stopping points along the way that that make it so that you don't have to start a new process and only get part way, but you really have to kind of wager with if I don't do this now and I do it first thing in the morning, am I going to put myself into a situation where I'm waiting on a dry time bottleneck? Those are the things that need to be working through your mind as you're producing these jobs. The other thing that you're thinking about throughout this time is, like I said earlier, you're keeping up with these real-time production rates, and you're looking at it and saying, okay, this is how many points that I've produced in the morning. I have to produce this many points by the end of the day. Am I going to make it? And so, I think in this case, I'll be able to gain some of those efficiencies, just because it's after the prep, it's a pretty simple job. It's just walls, so we're gonna be okay. But that's definitely something that's on my mind. I'm already kind of working up a sweat in the house, so I can certainly sympathize with the idea of like going on a walk midday. It's you got to be in shape for this job, right? Luckily, I've been doing a good amount of walking lately, so I'm feeling good right now. The nice thing about canvassing is that there are health benefits to the canvassing. Walking does such good for the body and the mind and the soul, especially when that sun is starting to come out and the birds are chirping. It clears your head, and as I kind of walk and talk and think about the process of what I'm doing, I'm able to kind of think and strategize for the rest of the day. So I really recommend doing this as part of your daily ritual. I can tell you that I was definitely getting hungry towards the end there. My smoothie did its job. It got me to lunch, and then I got a little hungry. I think that's fine. I ended up getting one of these Bolt House Farms Protein Plus shakes, and I'm maybe 2/4 or a quarter of the way through the bottle, not even, maybe a fifth of the way through the bottle, and I'm already feeling better. It tastes pretty good too. So on the topic of working towards transitioning out of the field, so I know I mentioned this morning that I'd talk about that. Probably makes most sense to just back up and go back to where I first made that transition. Hey there, my name is Torlando Hakes. I'm a local business owner with Craftsman Painter. We offer interior and cabinet painting services. I'm just going to leave a business card in your door here. We're working in the neighborhood, and I'm just walking around on my lunch break, passing out my business card. Thank you. That was a little awkward, right? Probably listen to this like, dude, who are you? I don't mind a little awkwardness, I think awkwardness reads as humility in a lot of ways. I don't need to feel like a hotshot. I don't need to pretend to be a hotshot salesperson. I actually think that can be a little off-putting. So I think the most important thing is just to be genuine. And so what if you're awkward? I think people will appreciate that. But don't put it on, If you're naturally confident, just go be confident. Doing good. Doing really good out here. When I was full-time in the field, I had this was when my daughter was born, 2015. I think I had about 4 guys, and then me in the field. I was still working, and we were doing a job and climbed up on this ladder, and I knew it was off track. It was an extension ladder, and I knew. And I thought it'd be okay. I thought it'd be sturdy. I went up, climbed it, and it slid. I fell. And I landed on the deck rail. My chest hit the railing and knocked the wind out of me, and so hard that I passed out. And I'll never forget that my crew member came and found me, and he watched my lights go out. And when I came back to, maybe this was like a couple days later, but I remember him saying, I wasn't out for a couple days. I was out for like a minute, but I came back to, and at some point he said, I had 2 thoughts. I said, I just watched somebody die, and there goes my gig. And so I just kind of recognized in that moment that all these people are counting on me. I've got a family, I've got employees. There's risk here, and the more risk I take on as a business owner, the more danger I'm putting people that I'm taking care of in. And maybe that was a little dramatic. Maybe that just being safe on a ladder and smarter, would have put me in the field a little bit longer. That probably would have made me a little more money, to be honest. But that was the thought process at the time. And so I told everybody as I was recuperating physically that I was going to take that as an opportunity to step out of the field, let the crews focus on production, and I would focus on sales, which was kind of the birth of my get the work, do the work mentality, and why the two should be separated, two separate roles. I still believe that, but you have to start somewhere, and you don't always have the luxury of starting with somebody that can do sales for you, or starting with somebody who can run job sites for you. You don't always start that way. Sometimes it is just you. And at that time I had I'd been listening to a lot of podcasts. I even started to listen to audiobooks while I was painting to get a better idea of how to market and sell. But my business education hadn't truly begun. That was the moment where it began, because the second I took off the production hat, it was like I lifted a rock, and underneath that rock were all of these other bugs that I had never thought about. Bugs in the system, bugs in the model that I just was not aware of. And that was, kind of the beginning of my business education. And I think that I got as far as I could on my own with, the books and articles and things like that. But, you can never stop learning. And I think now I'm at a point where, the MBA seemed like the right move, and that's uncovering a new rock with all kinds of bugs in it. And so it's been really fun to start applying those things. So the short story is that I kind of quit the field cold turkey in a way, and went from 100% production time during normal work hours, plus trying to keep up with administrative functions at nights and weekends. It was a rat race. It was too hard. And then I like I said, I quit the field cold turkey, and now I'm 0% in the field, and we're 100% trying to build and grow the business, which had, which kind of had this like dual effect. On one hand, I was able to ramp up my sales in the busy season, but the slow season I still had issues. And so now the business model went from being able to support me pretty well with me producing to now the business system has to support me as a pure overhead position, and the work of my crew has to be able to pay my bills. Immediately that just basically didn't happen. We were keeping afloat, but my income immediately went down. And then when the winter hit and we didn't have enough work to keep everybody busy, there was a month where I didn't have income at all. And so I think I would do it a little bit differently. I think I would do it far more gradually and ensure that I had that I was maintaining an equal income as my dedicated time towards administration increased. It would be a much more gradual flip. And I will say that that's probably not for everybody. I think that there are some people in certain markets with certain, personal runways that can jump in and immediately hit the ground running in administrative functionality. That was not me at the time. Hey there, my name is Torlando. I am with Craftsman Painter. I'm a local business owner. We do interior and cabinet painting. I'm painting at the house down the road, and I'm just dropping off a business card. I hope that's okay. Thank you. So I think, I think everybody needs to make that choice for themselves, and have an understanding of who they are, what their market is, what they're capable of. I think somebody who has a strong sales orientation already, somebody who has a strong local network already, I think that they can jump in and hit the ground running, especially if they have a little bit of a runway, savings, so that they can, handle the ramp up period. And that's what this is about. It's about that ramp up period. Market conditions, impact that. There are certain markets that are just better populated, have more growth, have more turnover in terms of people moving in and people moving out. Those are markets, where the demand is high and the supply is low, where you should be able to jump in and go pure administrative. There are other conditions like individual factors. If you are a career painter and you're striving to make that change, and you have some learning to do in the realm of marketing and sales, your ramp up period is actually just going to be longer, and that's real, and there's nothing wrong with that, because as a business owner, your income is a math problem. And so being able to do the math and figure out what you need to earn on a monthly basis, that's all you really need to know how to do. And from there you can build and gradually improve. So, let's say that you're listening to this as a solo owner operator. You're doing the paint, you're getting, sales. You do need that time to learn, how to improve what you're doing in terms of, sales and marketing. And what you want to do is you want to take those steps to gradually replace the income that you're producing on your own with your own hands. And you want to add a person here, add a person there, so that you're covering a portion of your income. And when you replace your income with a person who's producing, then that affords you a day of admin and a day of admin. So what I would do initially is I would start, and this is if I'm solo, I'm starting with a 4-day work week. And what I'm doing is on Monday, I'm having a marketing meeting, a marketing Monday, where I'm focusing on getting content out and sending emails and making calls or whatever it is that I need to do. whatever my plan is. And that's my Monday, and that's my first admin day, but the rest of the week is going to be production. So I would take that marketing Monday, that's my admin day. The remaining 4 days of the week, I'm focused on production. I'm getting the production work done. And what you have to do is you have to make sure that you're charging enough so that in 4 days you're able to earn what you would need for that 5th day of not working. So if we always say know your monthly nut. And so if you know what you need to make on a daily basis, you need to make sure that you're charging adequately enough so that on those 4 days of production that you're covering that first day of admin. And then the next week, what you'll do is you'll jump straight into production on Monday and work for 4 days. And then on that Friday, you'll have another admin day, and we'll just call that, Finance Friday. And that's where you're doing all of your job costing, all of your accounting, all of your invoicing, all of your financial stuff you're doing on that Friday. That way you have 2 weeks of pure production, 8 days of production. You've got a 2-day weekend in the middle, and then you've got on those from that Friday to Monday. Hey, how's it going? On that Friday to Monday, if you get all of your admin functions done, then you can kind of take off, right? If we get succinct with our admin functions, then you can have what feels a little bit more like a 3-4 day weekend type deal. But you really have to be efficient with those admin functions. I don't think there's any excuse whatsoever for being so behind on the admin stuff. There's really no excuse for you to be working all hours of the day, night and day. You should be figuring this stuff out when you during the week. Like, let's keep work to being work and make sure that you're charging enough on the days that you're producing. Well, you start with a 4-day production week, and then you add a person to your team, and you figure out, okay, with the productivity of this individual, is that covering my my 2nd day of admin? Can I afford now 2 days of admin a week? Or does it afford me half a day of admin? And the way that you do that is you figure out their productivity, how much money they're generating, how much profit that results in, and there you have it. So you getting out of the field, it's a math problem, and you have to make sure that you have enough jobs in order to keep somebody busy, obviously, which is another conversation entirely. But this gradual shift of bringing somebody on, assessing how much revenue they are, assessing how much revenue they're generating, how much profit that's turning into, and figuring out if you can make it work in terms of how many days does this afford me. right? And again, I recommend doing this gradually, because at each stage of the game, you're going to have to introduce new processes to the system to keep it all running. All right, I'm back at the house, ready to begin. That walk took about 40 minutes, so we're doing good. We'll pick it up on the inside. All right, so we are back in the house, getting ready to begin work. I have cleaned my putty knives. I've got my tool belt back on, and I'm getting ready to do the high cut and low cut. Typical process for this is I like having those buckets that they're a pail, and they have the grate for a mini roller. I tend to keep both my mini roller and my brush in hand at the same time. I find that keeps me pretty productive. Of course, I'm going to defuzz these rollers and get the project started. Very fun stuff. Love getting into the paint. So I've got about 4 hours of work window left, and I've got about 15 points to do. So that is just under 4 points per hour. I have to double my productivity. All right, that's fine. We'll see how we do. It is important. Getting done is important today because they are going to have pictures tomorrow. So we'll see how this goes. Yeah, I'm actually pretty confident. I think we'll be all right. All right, I am done with that job. Packed up, cleaned up, customer's happy, sent a link for a review, and we're going home. I put in about 7 hours of production time, actually pretty much 7 on the nose. I had about an hour of door-to-door time, and then I would say before I got to the job site, it was probably about 45 minutes of prep, including ordering supplies and loading my truck and everything. There were 20 points total in that job, and that put my production rate at 2.86 points per hour, and that, I think that puts me, at least on the day, given that there's a standard deviation of a couple points. That's my little disclaimer, of course. I think that puts me at Craftsman 2, in between Craftsman 2 and Master Craftsman production rates, which is for somebody who hasn't been in the field for a long time, I'm going to give myself a pat on the back for that. I feel pretty good with a 2.86 production rate. I think that where I lost efficiencies throughout the day was definitely in those bottlenecks. One of the very first repairs that I did wasn't dry until the end of the day, so it was practically a touch-up that I had to do. And I think that if I had a partner with me, I would probably gain efficiencies by avoiding switching costs. Switching costs were something that definitely slowed me down. I noticed that I did not have enough brushes on hand, didn't have enough rollers on hand. It would have been a lot faster if I was able to keep roller covers on a roller frame as I was switching through the colors. I was dealing with 4 different colors today, and so not having the the capacity to switch brushes without cleaning. I mean, I probably cleaned these brushes. Each brush I probably cleaned 3 times today. So that definitely slowed me down. But overall, I think 2.86 is respectable, and I got the job done. I produced 20 points in 7 hours. I think that's pretty respectable. Oh, I'm wiped out. That's a lot of work. Folks who do it every day, applaud yourselves. Make sure you take care of yourselves. Things that I think could be better. I should probably be wearing my inserts in my shoes. That's some old man stuff right there. I needed more water. I definitely needed to drink more water throughout the day. But man, that was a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm headed home, and this has been a fun day. So here's something to think about here. Just in the last, as I think about closing out this job, 2 things that you might find interesting. The first is that I invoiced them for the entirety of the bill before the project started. I invoiced them for the entire thing at the beginning of the project when they said they were willing to go with the job. And I gave them the conditions that they can pay, half down now, and pay the rest upon completion, or they can pay it all. It doesn't matter to me. That's what I said. And they happened to pay. Both of them paid the bill before I showed up. So we already had the money in the bank to produce this job, and that helped me avoid having to bill them later. I think giving them that flexibility. Hey, if they don't mind paying up front, I don't mind receiving up front. But I said at the very least half down and half upon completion. So they just went ahead and paid the whole thing. That was the first takeaway that I think is good for you guys to know. The second thing is that review process. I'm pretty sure I'll get some reviews on this. And what's cool about it is that it was a realtor referral. So the realtor happened to be paying for part of the project, and then the homeowner was paying for the other part. And so I'll be asking for reviews from both of them, and I primed them for that. I've primed them for that, throughout the project. So at the end of the project with the homeowner, I was cleaning up. I made sure that I was cleaning up. Let me tell you something. She offered to clean up herself. I refused her service. I insisted that I clean up. And that is something that I've learned from both sides of the coin here. From the homeowner standpoint, they already have a lot of stuff on their plate, and if they offer to clean up, they're just being nice. But that turns into a task later on, and it also, if you don't take control of the cleanup, then you could miss little drips that might have, penetrated your two-layer system, and you don't want the customer to find those drips. You would rather find those. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, yeah, it's just too much work. I've gotten into, arguments over, a mess that the customer, or that a contractor that I had at my house, they left, and I was like, oh, it'll be okay. Well, it turned into, a chore later, and led to arguments. So you just clean up, right? Just clean up. And to solicit the review, it was very simple. I just said, hey, what do you think of the work? And she said, oh, it's great. And I said, have you ever given a Google review before? And she said, yes. And I said, did we do a good enough job to earn a review? And she said, yes. I said, 5-star review. Did we do a good enough job to earn a 5-star review? She said, yes. And then I said, can I text you a link? And Google makes it very easy now. You go to your Google Maps and you navigate over to My Business, and your business profile is found in the Google Maps. And then you scroll down, and there is a link for your review link, and so you just copy it and then send it in via text message. That way they have it, and then you let them do a review. So, man, I've got a lot of editing to do on this 10,000 steps episode, but I hope it's been a good one. I hope it's been informative. You can see kind of my processes and thought process throughout the day as I do a project myself. Again, when you're trying to take those steps to go from doing the work on a daily basis and it's just you, to bringing in, a team, what you're looking for, you want to determine what your ultimate goal is, because some of you might not actually want to get out of the craft. You might want to remain a craftsperson, but having help and having time so that your full week isn't dedicated to craftsmanship. Maybe you separate those days out, and so maybe you have 3 days of production, 2 days of admin, or maybe it's a 4-to-1 relationship, 3-to-2, 2-to-3, 1-to-4. Maybe you're just spending 1 day out there. And this is the best treat of them all. A little girl coming out and greeting you and saying, Daddy. That means it's time for me to go. Have fun out there. The work that you do matters. Painting does make a difference. Thanks for listening.